Hello and welcome to the September 15th, 2024 episode of Nick's News. I am your host, Nick, brought to you by Some Budget Studios. That's right, we finally have some budget for this little project of mine. We're on every Sunday, and I thank you all so much for tuning in and catching us on YouTube and Facebook, or catching the replays on our YouTube and Facebook pages. Pull some stuff up while we're at it. This is a program dedicated to bringing some good news to counter all of the bad news that we are bombarded with on a daily basis, with the hope of bringing a little bit of joy back into the world. Several of our articles are pulled from goodnewsnetwork.org, but we do appreciate all the articles that you, the viewers, send in. Thank you all so much. Yeah, I'm actually starting to memorize my intro. I did most of that without having looked at a single part. I just couldn't remember if there was something between shouting out our YouTube and Facebook pages and then going straight into our slogan. So I'm getting better at this. Hey Will, hey Lily, and hello to producer Donna. Yeah, this is gonna be great. So, all right. Some folks saw some posts that I was making on my personal page. I will get to those when I get to the bug update. So we'll start off with our news brew. Our news brew is a little different from what we've been hitting normally. I have decided to bust out a bottle of Yuengling traditional lager. So, it's called traditional lager, but we all know it as Yuengling because it comes from Yuengling, America's oldest brewery. It is a 4.5% ABV American Amber. It's also, it's a lager. At the end of the day, it's a lager, but it also goes by the name of American Amber. It's an iconic brew across our nation. Any chance I get when I'm outside of Michigan, I pick up a case of it. This is the last bottle of my last case, so I decided to have it here on our episode because I can't remember the last time I did Yuengling on Nick's News. So I'm going to have to hit the road and pick up another case when I go to visit some friends out of state. For this one, we are going to need the Balisong bottle opener. It makes its triumphant return. Might have been a twist off and I'm just forgetting. We are going to drink this out of my Wicked Pissa pub glass because it's a pint glass for a lager. You don't get much more traditional than that. So we're still working on whether or not we're going to do music for the 5-minute pour, the theatrics of the 5-minute pour. Otherwise, I'm just going to put this like right up next to the mic and we're going to see what it sounds like on the recording. I feel like there could be some crazy orchestral music or something going on in the background. Still going. Good to the last drop. Come on. Yuengling. I am looking forward to that. Beer pouring opera, says Ben on the Facebook chat. Lilith is playing a game that has orchestral music in the background, so it fits. That's perfect. That is so funny. All right. Shout outs. Do you want some fine wine or some great cider? Swing on down to Fox Hen Winery, Fridays and Saturdays. They're open from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. You can catch me down there usually every Friday. This upcoming Friday, I'm not going to be there, sadly. But please, if you want to try some really great wine or some fine cider, swing on out to them. They're in Grand Haven. It's a fantastic place. Links are in the description. Really just cool. Cool winery. Huge congrats to two of our Nick's Newsies, Ed and Kendra. They are celebrating their 4-year marriage anniversary. So, to Ed and Kendra, cheers. Yuengling is fantastic. Hello, Malik. Another one of our next newsies, Julie, tipped us off that John Ball Zoo is hosting a vote for their new snow leopard cub's name. So you can get in on that. You can vote for some of the names that have been recommended by John Ball Zoo. It's going on right now, as of the recording of this episode on the 15th of September. Link is in the description if y'all want to check that out and vote. So Julie, thank you for sending that in. Cheers. Lilith says it's gonna be Mittens, obviously. Be a cute name. All right, news quote. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. That is from Maya Angelou, an American memoirist, poet, dancer, singer, scholar, and of course, a civil rights activist and icon. And I really like that quote because it's really telling about human nature in that there's a lot that we can forget about things. Water under the bridge, phrases like that. What we say and what we do, those things can be forgotten. But how you make people feel is never going to go away, for good or for ill. So something to keep in mind. So again, that quote, I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. Thank you to Maya Angelou and to producer Donna for finding that quote for us. Derek tuning in on the Facebook stream. Hey, I made it to an episode. How's the good news rolling? We're just getting into it soon. We just have to get through our bug updates. For our bug updates, Elmira Hug and Kiss, our giant vinegaroon, is continuing to build her burrows throughout her tank. It's unbelievable the architecture that she's done. Like, she started off with one or two small burrows, and now she has a gigantic one that is now spanning almost the entire back of the terrarium, and then has started to wrap around towards the front, and she started making a new entrance or exit for it, which is really neat. And she's hunkered down in there right now. She's not doing any construction right now, but it is really crazy to watch her work. And something else that happened earlier today, I almost postponed this episode. There's a nature preserve by my house, and I love going hiking through it. And I saw not one, but two very large female Chinese praying mantises. One was a brown color morph, one was a green color morph, and I posted pictures of those to my main Facebook page. I was especially very tempted to bring home the green one, but thanks to producer Donna and all of my willpower, I managed not to. It's still really... There's still time left. It hasn't gotten too cold. We're actually getting another warm snap. It's going to be warm for the next couple weeks, it looks like. So we'll see as things cool off if we're going to be graced with a mantis the same way we were graced with Matilda, the mantis, all those years ago. Catching a little bit of flack in the chat. Lilith saying I should have brought one of the mantises home, and maybe I should have, but we'll see. How about if I can, because I don't have a terrarium set up for one right now, if I can get a terrarium set up, and if I happen to encounter another, the likelihood of me bringing it home will be much higher. Producer Donna has stipulated it has to be in distress or hurt. I could just say it was in distress because it was outside and the outside world is really dangerous. We'll see. We may have another mantis here, and if I get one, it's going to be a big female. So, or late in the season. It could be late in the season. All right. All right, let's get to the good news. So our broadcast is broken up into 4 major categories, and those categories are science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals, and the wholesome notes, the really nice touchy-feely articles that we like to end on. So we are going to start off in Category 1, Science and Technology. This article was sent in by Travis. Travis, thank you very much for sending this in. I called it Cleanup Continuity, and I will copy and paste it in the chat if y'all want to read along. Great Pacific Garbage Patch could be eliminated in 10 years, cleanup organization says. This article was posted in the Los Angeles Times, and it was posted by Terry Castleman on September 6th of 2024. After 3 years extracting plastic waste from the notorious Great Pacific Garbage Patch, an environmental nonprofit says it can finish the job within a decade, with a price tag of several $billion. Twice the size of Texas, the mass of about 79,000 metric tons of plastic floating in the Pacific Ocean between California and Hawaii is growing at an exponential pace, according to researchers. At current levels, the cleanup would take a decade with a price tag of $7.5 billion, the Netherlands-based Ocean Cleanup said in a press release, announcing the group's intention to eliminate the garbage patch entirely. However, computer models suggest a more aggressive approach could complete the job in just 5 years and a cost of $4 billion. The cleanup vessels deploy enormous U-shaped floating barriers to funnel trash toward a focal point, where it can then be loaded aboard and brought to shore. Friday's announcement marked the group's first time and cost estimate of the massive cleanup project. For the record, a previous version of this article said that ocean cleanup vessels had removed more than 1 million tons of trash in 3 years. The amount was 1 million pounds. So I think we actually covered that article too. In their 3 years at sea, the ocean cleanup vessels have removed more than 1 million pounds of trash, representing 0.5% of the total accumulation. So a long way to go, but they're still working on it. We have shown the world that the impossible is now possible. The only missing thing is who will ensure this job gets done, said Boyan Slat, founder and chief executive of the Ocean Cleanup. We've had several articles about Ocean Cleanup and Boyan Slat. He was a young man, very young, when he invented this concept and these designs, and has continued to push the boundaries of cleanup in the Pacific Ocean and in other waterways. Really just a crazy good entrepreneur, a good guy from the looks of things. Plastic waste costs the global economy $2.5 trillion per year in damage to economies, industries, and the environment, the group said. In addition to removing trash from the garbage patch, the Ocean Cleanup has deployed trash interceptors in waste-ridden outlets to the world's oceans, including one in Marina del Rey. That device kept about 77 tons of trash from entering the Pacific through Ballona Creek during its first rainy season last year. So a good article showing that Ocean Cleanup is still on the move with its project and is now starting to put hard numbers to the end of their project with the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. $7.5 billion or possibly $4 billion in either 10 or 5 years respectively. So good news about cleanup in the Pacific Ocean. To Ocean Cleanup and to Travis for sending in that article. Cheers. Lilith commenting on the bugs in the Facebook chat. The kitchen makes a great terrarium. When I was at one of my older apartments, there were some great videos of me tossing crickets to Matilda because I was keeping her in my kitchen at the time before I built a terrarium for her that night. So. Julie saying, sorry I'm late, what's the beer? Julie, the beer is Yuengling's Traditional Lager. Hello, Eileen? Lilith does remember the videos of me tossing crickets to a very hungry Matilda, so... And Julie, earlier we had, as a shout out, I did the voting for the the snow leopard cub at John Ball Zoo. So thank you very much for sending that in. No death beer. No, I have decided that we are going to do the annual pumpkin beer in October. I have picked it out. I am hoping it doesn't kill me. Time will tell. All right. Let's move on to our second article. I called it Sports Ball, and it's going to become a permanent title for any sports-related news that we have on Nick's News, because we are not a traditional news outlet that has things like the weather and sports and whatnot. We could possibly have Sports Ball. So I will copy and paste this in the chat if y'all want to read along. NFL scores touchdown for renewables. The Super Bowl was 100% solar powered. This was on goodnewsnetwork.org and was posted by Andy Corbley on February 13th, 2024. It's an older article, but it checks out. The biggest sporting event in America went green this year thanks to its position out in the desert. 621,000 solar panels channeled the electricity needed to power the Allegiant Stadium, home of both Super Bowl, Roman numerals, VXIII. Which one was that? That one's not 58, is it? No. Not VXII. I remember that it was Super Bowl 58. We were talking about it earlier, but I guess they did another one, unless they're wrong. Maybe Maybe he just put it in this one wrong. Because I remember it being like L. Oh well, let's keep going. Allegiant Stadium is also home to the Las Vegas Raiders. According to CBS News, the stadium entered into a 25-year agreement with NV Energy to buy power from the solar farm, which can power 60,000 homes outside of game day. Las Vegas sees 300 days of sun a year, so the initiative makes perfect sense. And it's not the only sustainability initiative found in and around the Allegiant. They recycle all the rubber pellets from the turf, run food scrap collection from the on-site restaurants, and divert them from the waste stream into feed livestock, and compost all the grass clippings from the field. That's pretty slick. They also have a super efficient roof, which reduces the need for aircon, and multiple efficiency systems like low energy lighting, lighting control systems, and air handling units. That's a crazy cool building. But the standout feature is the 100% renewable electricity generated from the sun. People sometimes get nervous about renewable power because they're not sure if it's going to be reliable, said U.S. Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm, who inspected the stadium's main electrical entry room, reports CBS News. The fact that renewable power can power a facility like this reliably should speak volumes about what could happen in other communities. That's pretty cool. And yes, it was LVII, which made sense for the 58th Super Bowl. So yeah, that's pretty slick. To everybody running Allegiant Stadium, a home of the Las Vegas Raiders and the home of Super Bowl 58. For going super green. Cheers. Hello, Russell. Russell joining us in the Facebook chat. Okay. All right. We've got a returning character to some of our articles. I am going to copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. I called it The Little Probe That Could. Because once again, Voyager 1 is in the good news. So I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. NASA beats the odds with ingenious Voyager 1 thruster fix from billions of miles away. Little bit of a catch up. Voyager 1 has been plagued by all sorts of problems as of late that luckily NASA has been able to circumvent thanks to the power of their engineers working nonstop to correct problems and fix systems from literally billions of miles away. And they encountered another problem, but they figured out how to fix it. So here we go. Producer Donna is definitely part of the Voyager fangirl club. NASA's Voyager 1 team tackled complex challenges by successfully switching to backup thrusters after the primary ones became clogged with silicon dioxide. The spacecraft uses its thrusters to stay pointed at Earth, but after 47 years in space, some of the fuel tubes have become clogged. This adaptation was complicated as the spacecraft, now in interstellar space, continues its journey on dwindling power. Engineers working on NASA's Voyager 1 probe have successfully mitigated an issue with the spacecraft's thrusters, which keep the distant explorer pointed at Earth so that it can receive commands, send engineering data, and provide the unique science data it is gathering. After 47 years, a fuel tube inside the thrusters has become clogged with silicon dioxide, a byproduct that appears with age from a rubber diaphragm in the spacecraft's fuel tank. The clogging reduces how efficiently the thrusters can generate force. After weeks of careful planning, the team switched the spacecraft to a different set of thrusters. The thrusters are fueled by liquid hydrazine, which is turned into gases and released in tens of millisecond-long puffs to gently, ever so gently, tilt the spacecraft antenna towards Earth. If the clogged thruster were healthy, it would need to conduct about 40 of these short pulses a day. Both Voyager probes feature 3 sets or branches of these thrusters, 2 sets of attitude propulsion thrusters, and 1 set of trajectory correction maneuver thrusters. During the mission's planetary flybys, both types of thrusters were used for the different purposes, such as turning the probe, rotating it, etc. But as Voyager 1 travels on an unchanging path out of the solar system, its thruster needs are simpler, and either thruster branch can be used to point the spacecraft at Earth. In 2002, the mission's engineering team, based at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Southern California, noticed some of the fuel tubes in the attitude propulsion thruster branch were being used for pointing. They were getting clogged. So the team switched to the second branch. When that branch showed signs of clogging in 2017, the team switched to the trajectory correction maneuver thrusters and have been using that branch ever since. Now, those trajectory correction thruster tubes are even more clogged than the original branches were when the team swapped them in 2018. The clogged tubes are located inside the thrusters and direct fuel to the catalyst beds, where it is turned into gas. These are different than the fuel tubes that send hydrazine to the thrusters, of note. Where the tube opening was originally only 0.01 inches or 0.25 millimeters for people that haven't landed people on the moon in diameter, the clogging has reduced it to 0.0015 inches or 0.035 millimeters. That is tiny. Or about half the width of a human hair. As a result, the team needed to switch back to one of the attitude propulsion thruster branches. Switching to different thrusters would have been a relatively simple operation for the mission in 1980 or even 2002, but the spacecraft's age has introduced new challenges, primarily related to power supply and temperature. The mission has turned off all non-essential onboard systems, including some of the heaters, on both spacecraft to conserve their gradually shrinking electrical power supply, which is generated by decaying plutonium. While those steps have worked to reduce power, they have also led to the spacecraft growing colder, an effect compounded by the loss of other non-essential systems that used to produce heat. Consequently, the attitude propulsion thruster branches have grown cold, and turning them on in that state could damage them, making the thrusters unusable. The team determined that the best option would be to warm the thrusters before the switch by turning on what had been deemed non-essential heaters. Oh, before the switch. Okay, so before the switch, they're going to turn on some non-essential heaters to try to warm the thrusters back up. Because if they fire them now, they might just blow them up. However, as with so many challenges the Voyager team has faced, this presented a puzzle. The spacecraft's power supply is so low that turning on non-essential heaters would require the mission to turn off something else to provide the heaters adequate electricity. And everything that's currently operating is considered essential. Studying the issue, they ruled out turning off one of the still operating science instruments for a limited time because there's a risk that the instrument would not come back online. After additional study and planning, the engineering team determined they could safely turn off one of the spacecraft's main heaters for up to an hour, freeing up enough power to turn on the thruster heaters. It worked. On August 27th, they confirmed that the needed thruster branch was back in action, helping point Voyager 1 back toward Earth. All the decisions we will have to make going forward are going to require a lot more analysis and caution than they once did, said Suzanne Dodd, Voyager's project manager at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which manages Voyager for NASA. The spacecraft are exploring interstellar space, the region outside the bubble of particles and magnetic fields created by the Sun, where no other spacecraft are likely to visit for a long time. The mission science team is working to keep the Voyagers going for as long as possible so they can continue to reveal what that interstellar environment is like. That is really cool. To everybody at Jet Propulsion Laboratories working alongside NASA to keep the Voyager probes going and come up with engineering solutions. Cheers. And if I forgot to mention it before I started talking about the article, that one came from SciTech Daily. It was posted on September 12th of 2024, and it was posted by the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Make sure everything is still up and running. I haven't gotten any emergency calls, so I'm guessing it is, and you are all just enthralled by the dulcet tones of my voice. That was a bit of a long article. But that is going to get us out of science and technology. We are going to move on to category 2, health and medicine. And I called this one Health Check? Wear this finger trap. Couple of shout outs in the chat reminding me that people are still watching. Alright, I'm going to copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. And as usual, all of our articles are in the descriptions for the YouTube and the Facebook videos if y'all want to go through and read them as I do. Or if you want to check them out on your time. Finger Wrap uses sweat to provide health monitoring at your fingertips. Literally. This was posted in UC San Diego today on September 3rd of 2024, and it's a story by Lizelle Lebois. At least I believe that is pronounced Lebois. Lily in the chat saying, thankfully for me, their chaos is directed elsewhere at a game they're playing. So, sit up in my chair here. Here we go. A sweat-powered wearable has the potential to make continuous, personalized health monitoring as effortless as wearing a Band-Aid. Engineers at the University of California, San Diego have developed an electronic finger wrap that monitors vital chemical levels, such as glucose, vitamins, and even drugs that are present in the same fingertip sweat from which it derives its energy. The advance was published September 3rd in Nature Electronics by the research group of Joseph Wang, a professor in the Aso Yufeng Li Family Department of Chemical and Nano Engineering at UC San Diego. The device, which wraps snugly around the finger, draws power from an unlikely source, the fingertips' sweat. Fingertips, despite their small size, are among the body's most prolific sweat producers, each packed with over 1,000 sweat glands. These glands can produce 100 to 1,000 times more sweat than most other areas of the body, even during rest. This constant trickle of natural perspiration, without any stimuli or physical activity, offers a reliable energy source, fueling the device even during periods of inactivity or sleep. The device is constructed from several electronic components that are printed onto a thin, flexible, and stretchable polymer material. Its design allows it to conform to the finger while being durable enough to withstand repeated bending, stretching, and movement. It is based on a remarkable integration of energy harvesting and storage components, with multiple biosensors and a fluidic microchannel, along with the corresponding electronic controller, all at the fingertip, said Wang. Central to its operation are biofuel cells that are positioned where the device contacts the fingertip. These cells have been specifically engineered. This is awesome. To efficiently collect and convert chemicals in sweat into electricity. Gosh, this is science fiction. This electricity is stored in a pair of stretchable silver chloride zinc batteries, which power a suite of sensors, 4 in total, each tasked with monitoring a specific biomarker: glucose, vitamin C, lactate, and levodopa, a drug used for treating Parkinson's disease. A sweat is wicked through tiny paper microfluidic channels to these sensors. The device analyzes the biomarker levels, all while drawing energy it needs from the very sweat it's sampling. A small chip processes signals from the sensors and wirelessly transmits the data via Bluetooth Low Energy to a custom-designed smartphone or laptop application. This is insanity. This is really crazy science and health put together. This is automatic health monitoring at your fingertips, said study co-first author how do we pronounce this one? I think it's Shichao Ding, a postdoctoral researcher in Wang's research group at the UC San Diego Jacobs School of Engineering. The wearer can be resting or asleep, and the device can still harvest energy and track biomarker levels. In tests, a subject wore the device throughout the day to track glucose levels during meals, lactate levels during both desk work and exercise, vitamin C levels while drinking orange juice, and levodopa levels after eating fava beans, a natural source of the compound. Ding and co-first author oh my gosh, these names are going to kill me. Tamogna Saha say that the device can be customized to cater to individual health needs by detecting different sets of biomarkers. The researchers are working on developing a closed-loop system that not only monitors biomarkers, but also administers treatments based on the collected data. For instance, in the case of diabetes, such a device could continuously monitor glucose levels and automatically deliver insulin as needed, then assess the treatment's effectiveness by further monitoring biomarker levels. Autonomous power, sensing, and treatment all in one device. That's the ultimate goal, said Ding. That's really cool. To everybody involved at this study at the University of California, San Diego, and their engineering department, cheers. All right, so that's going to get us out of health and medicine. We're going to move on to flora and fauna, aka plants and animals. This article was sent in by Cassidy. Thank you very much, Cassidy. It is an All the Buzz article, because it is about bees. So I will copy and paste this into the chat if you all want to read along. Beekeeper finds grandfather's long-lost hives thriving in quarry and turns them into a colony of millions. This article comes from goodnewsnetwork.org. It was posted on September 11th, 2024 by Andy Corbley. A tad late for Grandparents' Day, a man in Scotland recently found the hives tended by his grandfather that were presumed sold or lost for over 14 years. Locating them in a quarry, he took up beekeeping in order to assume responsibility for his inheritance, and his business now sells honey to farmers markets across Scotland. Ross Main grew up with and was very close to his grandfather William, a beekeeper who regularly took him along to check on the bees. William passed away from cancer in 2007, and Mr. Main assumed his hives had been sold. After the birth of his own son in 2015, Main was inspired to try and find them. He traveled from his home in Fife in Scotland to the East Lothian Quarry, where his granddad kept his hives, and was stunned to discover an original colony that had taken care of itself for years. The hive was hundreds of meters down an overgrown track, dilapidated and falling apart. 7 years on, out of nostalgia, I went to the quarry, and there was still a hive there, said Main. In that moment, I knew I wanted to look after the hive and rehome the bees, and I started learning from there. Main then began to teach himself beekeeping using videos on YouTube, collecting the bees from his grandfather's original hive, donning a beekeeping suit, and transferring the colony to their new home. He then grew them into a population of 5 million bees split into around 100 colonies, all descended from William's remnant. Ross's business, Main's Apiaries, now sells honey to farm shops from 3 harvests a year. Being around the bees could be quite scary because there were big swarms and I was quite young, but it really captured my imagination, Main remembers. I started with 1 hive, and they naturally multiply every year. Over the years, they've gradually built up, and we've split them into new hives. As he gradually learned the trade, Ross began expanding his colonies, gifting the honey made to friends and family, and eagerly sharing his experience with anyone interested. In 2021, he took the next step and started his business, Main's Apiaries. In addition to selling honey, Ross offers beekeeping experiences to prospective hobbyists, and even sells colonies to businesses interested in keeping honeybees on site, maintaining the hives himself weekly. We also offer corporate companies the opportunity to have hives on their land. They own the hives and the bees, and we do the maintenance throughout the year, said Main, adding it's important to diversify to maintain a viable business. They support the local biodiversity within the area, and it promotes a healthy ecosystem. The idea of showing other people the bees came from the first time my granddad took me to see the bees. The idea of showing other people the bees came from the first time my granddad took me to see the bees. He opened the hives, and it was quite a magical thing to be around all these swarms of bees, he said. It was an experience I never forgot, and I wanted to offer it to other people. Hello, Charlie, joining us in the Facebook chat. That was a really cool article. To Cassidy for sending that one in, and to Main's Apiaries and Ross Main for finding his grandfather's hive and growing it into this amazing thing and taking care of it with great bug husbandry. Cheers. Oh, producer Donna, who sent us the last article for tonight? I did not credit them. I just looked at my show notes and I realized I did not write their credit in. Lilith in the chat shouting, "The bees!" It's a great Nicolas Cage bit. You should look it up. Malik saying, "Ugh, all the mead." It's a little warm in my house. I kicked the AC on trying to bring stuff down, but my laptop is running a little hot at the moment. All right, Cassidy sent in this last one. All right, so that is going to get us out of flora and fauna, and we're going to get into the wholesome notes, our last article of the night. This one was sent in by Cassidy as well. Thank you very much, Cassidy. I will credit you in the description. I'll edit the descriptions later on. I called this one Jordan's Way Leads the Pack. Why did that alert come up? And I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. It's a little bit local for a lot of us. So, yeah. Social media influencer helps animal shelter raise thousands in just 3 hours. And this was published to MLive, which is a Michigan news source. It was published on September 13th of 2024, and it was written by Kayla Tucker. With the help of an energetic social media influencer, the Big Lake Humane Society in Muskegon raised $18,200 in 3 hours this week. Chris Rotunda of Jordan's Way stopped at the shelter as part of his national campaign to raise $1 million for local animal shelters. Rotunda has almost 1 million followers on Facebook. The fundraiser on Wednesday, September 11th, was the shelter's biggest yet. The fundraiser is still going, and donations can be made until September 19th. Now that I am aware of it, I will be donating. Once Rotunda went live on Facebook, the games began. As certain fundraising goals were met, volunteers and staff were pied in the face, and dogs were given special treats like Frisbees full of peanut butter and hamburgers. Volunteers pledged to stand in the dogs' kennels for certain periods of time, and some of them ran through the dog agility course and participated in a Fear Factor-style food tasting challenge. Rotunda, full of energy, cheered on the volunteers and hyped the virtual audience, encouraging them to donate. He walked around the shelter showcasing the dogs and cats on site. About 40 to 45 volunteers and 18 employees helped out with the event Wednesday night. Volunteers were split between participating in challenges on the live stream and attending to animals in the shelter. A handful of dogs that were anxious to the noisy activity were outside, kept busy by volunteers. The mission is inspired by Jordan, a dog that Rotunda adopted years ago. Jordan lived her entire life in an outdoor Florida shelter. Jordan passed away in 2018, and it was then that Rotunda was inspired to help more dogs like her. Before the event, shelter manager Velvet Light said she hoped this event exceeded the shelter's $8,000 Cruise for Rescues fundraiser in 2023. Big Lake, also known as the Muskegon Humane Society, is a nonprofit founded in 1972. They do not receive any federal funding. They have been in their current building since 1980. Light said the most expensive, needed renovations are resealing and epoxy in the main dog room, which is a $40,000 project that keeps the building safe, clean, and restored. It's an aging facility, Light said. That's our biggest struggle, keeping up with the maintenance, keeping it safe and healthy for the animals. The shelter is partnered with the low-cost Big Lake Community Animal Clinic, which could use an x-ray machine, a cost between $30,000 to $40,000, Light said. The shelter is at capacity with 42 dogs and 70 cats on site. There are 80 more dogs and 140 more cats on the wait list. And in the description, we have links to the fundraisers from the show notes. It looks like the current funds raised are $8,270 with a goal of $15,000. And that is going to be going on through the 19th, which is Thursday. So if you are going to donate, I recommend getting those donations in. I will be making a contribution. So Cassidy, to you and to Chris Rotunda of Jordan's Way, and to everybody at the Big Lake Humane Society in Muskegon, Michigan, cheers. All right. Well, that about does it. Mona's showing up in our YouTube chat. Mona, how you doing? Caregiving can be unpredictable. Mona, you are a saint for giving care. Cheers to you. So that's about it. 6 great articles tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning in and for sending so many articles in. I think producer Donna at the beginning in the Facebook chat mentioned y'all bombarded us with articles this week, and I am so appreciative. I think maybe we'll do an episode where we do cool news, because a lot of what y'all sent in was like really cool news wasn't quite what I was looking for, but at the same time was really sweet. And maybe we'll do an episode of just a cool news episode. So that might be one way of getting to use those articles, because there was some really sweet stuff in there. But yeah, let me close that one down. I guess we're gonna wrap things up. Thank you all again for tuning in or catching the replay on the Nick's News Facebook page or the YouTube page. Again, we're live every Sunday. Our next broadcast will be September 22nd, 2024. I encourage participation, so if you feel inclined, you can message or post suggestions for news brews, for shout outs, for news quotes, and especially for the articles that we can present on future episodes. If possible, I do appreciate an array of articles that are spread out across our categories, and those categories, again, are science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals, and the wholesome notes, the really nice articles that we like to end on. You can either message us here on Facebook or email us at somebudgetstudios@gmail.com. If you're going to email, I highly recommend use the Some Budget Studios, because if you send it to my personal email, I'm going to lose it. I get a lot of email. So send it to that somebudgetstudios@gmail.com email. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment on the Facebook and the YouTube videos, so we can get the good news and the joy into the algorithm. I'm not going to demand of you. I'm not going to ask you. I'm just going to kindly suggest like, subscribe, post, comment, etc. All that fun stuff, just to get the good news spread out there, because we are really bombarded with bad news, and we need to get that good news going. So anything and everything is appreciated. Yeah. As always, thank you all. I love you all. Have a great night, and I am going to play us out.